So it's been a pretty busy day today, so I thought I'd just sit down and do a video in front of the wood stove. I know many of you like for me doing videos in front of the wood stove. Usually I just talk about the wood stove, but I think I've talked about it quite a bit this winter. It's a amazing device. I think everybody should own one. This electric heat and the gas heat, I've sent marketplace snapshots all the time by viewers on Facebook. People send it to me and they're showing me the prices of firewood. You can find free firewood. I know you got to go and get it and you got to cut it up and split it and all that stuff. And I know there's a lot of work to it, but it is free. Down the road, they are selling third of a cord. So one truckload basically for $50. So you got to have 3 truckloads in order to make a full cord. So it would cost us $150 to heat this house if we had to go buy it. And if you think about it, that's an entire winter's worth of heat for us. So that's not too terrible. So if the firewood that we have doesn't last long enough and I get too old or I hurt myself, I still have the option that I can buy it for a relatively cheap price. I don't know if anybody would call me off grid if I'm buying firewood. I feel like I am, but it's still an option. A lot of people tell me, you're not gonna be able to do this when you're old. I think I can. We have tried to stay away from buying groceries, or a lot of groceries, all this winter. We went and got bacon. You can buy those 10-pound boxes of bacon for 20 bucks or so. So we go buy bacon about once a month. But everything else we stayed away from because we've been eating canned food all winter. And the reason is because when you go buy meat from the store, we bring it home, we package it up in its individual packages, about 1 pound packages, Ziploc them. You got to put them in the freezer. Well, when you put them in the freezer runs for 3 days straight. Well, in the wintertime, that becomes a little bit more difficult because the days are shorter and usually it's more cloudy all winter. So we're not getting as much electricity to run the freezer. That means I got to run the generator pretty much non-stop for 3 days straight. Now, when you add that cost onto the price of your food, it doesn't run up the price terribly bad. You figure I can run the generator for about 10 hours on a gallon of gas. So for 3 days, I would be up to roughly 6 gallons of gas. So it'll run up the price a little bit, but it's not terrible. But I'd rather not do it at all if I don't have to. So at the beginning of winter, Carolyn and I sat down and we talked about it. I think it was her idea that we were just going to eat canned food this winter until the temperatures got low enough that we could just freeze the food outside. Who knew it was going to take all winter to do that? So we were just notified, obviously, everybody's notified, that the temperatures are going to drop dramatically this weekend. So today is Thursday for us. You'll get this video on Friday. I think on Saturday night, well, it might be Friday night, the temperature is going to drop down to -1 degree. Now, they were talking about getting us down to -9 degrees, but they've adjusted that. So it looks like the lowest temperature we're seeing right now is -3, which isn't terrible. We could actually survive that pretty well, but Carolyn and I want to play it safe. So yesterday's video, and I'll put an up next box at the end of this video to that video, I was showing you, or telling you, I guess, that I'm going to disconnect our water heater from the IBC tank. And we're going to make sure the pump, the RV pump, is completely dry. That way, if it does freeze up, it's no big deal. We'll be able to hook it right back up on the next day above, I don't know, probably 10 degrees, and we'd be fine with water again. So on Saturday, I'm going to disconnect that, and I'll show you how I'm going to do it. Like I said, so we went shopping today. She packaged up all the meats that we bought, hamburgers and whatever she bought. Got that all packaged up, and we put it in one of those big washing tubs that we had. It's like a sink. It's a huge laundry sink, and we covered it with a board, put a brick on it so the raccoons can't get it. Now tomorrow, it's really got to get pretty cold. It's got to get down into the teens, maybe in single digits, before it will actually freeze. I've tried to freeze meat in the 20s before, 20 degrees, wouldn't do it. By, I would imagine Friday night, the meat will be frozen. Then we can take it out of the tub outside, put it in the freezer, and then I don't have to run the generator at all. I know it seems like it's a lot of planning and ridiculousness, it really doesn't matter. We could run the generator. I'm trying to be true to the lifestyle. I want to be as off-grid as much as possible. So we finally got some meat. We'll be able to fill the freezer back up. It's pretty much packed full. I mean, she's got all the bacon in there now, which was frozen. And once she gets that meat in there, it'll be packed full. So we can stop eating canned food for a while. That'd be a nice change. A few years ago, Texas got really cold and it froze up and the electric went down. I heard stories of people getting electric bills like $30,000. It was ridiculous. $3,000. It was huge. I would have thought by that scenario, a lot of people would have taken some corrective action, especially if they're watching my channel. I talk about wood stove multiple times a year, and I don't see anybody going out saying, hey, I got a wood stove. I just don't see it. I don't know why you'd want to risk it. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, I lived in a house, the electric went out. We had a small 1,000 watt generator that we ran the, it was a little heater, but we couldn't run it on high because the generator wasn't strong enough. So we were out electric, I don't know, maybe 2 days. We huddled around that in the living room, and we had this kerosene heater as a backup heater. Our furnace was electric. And for whatever reason, I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I just wasn't thinking. I don't know, maybe I'm not even remembering correctly. For whatever reason, I left the kerosene heater in the kitchen. Now, I know why I did it. I didn't want the pipes to freeze. But it would seem like that we could have shut the water off. I don't know why we did what we did. But anyway, we did have that kerosene heater. Although kerosene is quite expensive, we survived it pretty well. I mean, it was really cold. The pipes didn't freeze. Everything seemed to work out. And we had a little bit of electric. I just feel like I didn't do it very well. I think I could have done it better. Regardless, we did. But I watch these prepping channels. The more I watch these prepping channels, the more I realize these preppers are not prepared for anything. And I don't even know what it is they're trying to sell. I mean, all I see is condescending. They're very condescending. They're very arrogant. They know everything. You don't know anything. And they specifically say that. Those idiots out there, they don't know what they're doing. They're not prepared. I'm prepared. They're not prepared. Now, what is that? How can you say that? Watched one prepper. It was amazing. He was complaining how everybody went to the grocery store the day before a storm. He was upset that society is not prepared enough to go one day through a storm without running to the store and buying milk and eggs. But what was he doing? He was running out to the store to buy milk and eggs. So it's wrong for the entire world to go out and buy milk and eggs the day before a storm because the best prepper in the world needs to go get milk and eggs. And the thing is I don't even get it. I'm not a prepper. I say it all the time. I do not prepare. I just live life. I don't have to run out and get milk and eggs. As a matter of fact, we got plenty of eggs. Chickens are producing enough eggs that we eat eggs. I don't have to run out before a storm. I know everybody's gonna say, well, you just did. You went out and got meat. I went out and got meat because it's been a 3-month plan to go out and get meat today. If it was going to freeze or get down into single digits, we were gonna go out and get meat. It didn't matter what day of the year it was gonna be or what storm was coming. That was the day we were gonna get meat. So it was our plan. But I'm not telling everybody, oh, you need to stay at home and be prepared so I can go out and get milk and eggs, man. What is that? So the arrogance is just absolutely phenomenal. And it kind of goes back to the wood stove. The people I see with wood stoves are homesteaders. There's this huge channel. He's got a wood stove in the shed. He used to have video of inside his house before he moved to his current property. He used to do videos all over his property, inside the house. He videos family. But nowadays, it's pretty much just him doing stuff, man stuff. He likes to kind of talk about it. We got to preserve manhood type of thing. It doesn't matter what he's talking about. But he doesn't talk about the wood stove. But he does have a wood stove in his garage shed. I would imagine he still has one in his house. Every homesteader and every off-gridder, for some reason, somehow, strangely, shows their wood stove. Whether they're bragging about it like I do, or they're just sitting in front of it because that's where they decided to film that day, they have it. But when you watch videos of preppers, I've never seen them sit in front of a wood stove. It would seem to me that if you're going to be a prepper, the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out how to prepare for winter. Now, I keep saying I'm not a prepper, and I'm not a prepper. Today, the temperature is probably 40 degrees outside. I could run the buddy heater, the little portable buddy heater we have. I haven't ran that since the first year we were in here when we had so much wet firewood. We just built a tiny house and we're trying to get settled in and cutting firewood and getting it to dry. There was a lot to do that first year. So we broke down, but during the early spring, late winter, early spring transition, we ran that buddy heater quite a bit. But we haven't ran it since. When her son moved into that camper that we got down there, he ran it. So we had a little backup heater for him. We run firewood. Day in, day out in the wintertime, that's what we do. I get up in the morning, I start the wood stove. I run it again about noontime if necessary. But today it's been so warm, it's probably about 4 o'clock now, almost 12 hours. And I'll probably make it all the way through tomorrow morning, so another 12 hours. So 2 times a day, I'm starting it up. Now when it gets really cold, when we get in those sub-zero temperatures, I will probably have to run it 4 times a day. So the same amount that I'm running, I'll get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, start the wood stove. Probably again 10 o'clock, noontime, somewhere around there. Then right before bed, maybe 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. And then in the middle of the night, I will have to get up and start it again. Carolyn will start it. If I got all the wood laid out for her, she can put it in there and start it up. So most times I don't even have to get up because she stays, like I said, stays up later than I do. That means I don't even have to get out of bed. This is just how we live. Now, we did have to prepare a little bit. One of the things we have to do is we got to bring firewood into the house, and we got to keep it coming in all the time. We have basically 4 spots that we put it. We got a layer under the bed. We got some in the shelf here and some here. And what I try to do is I rotate it around so it has time to get the snow and the rain to dry off of it. So right now I'm working off this pile. And then I'm gonna go underneath the bed. So when this pile is empty, I restock it. Then we'll start working from the bed. Once that pile is empty, then we'll start working from the shelf over here. That way it has roughly a week to kind of dry out before we have to use it in the wood stove. It rained and snowed, what, yesterday or day before yesterday? Day before yesterday. So all that was really wet. So we didn't do anything yesterday, but after we got back from the grocery store today, I went out and I filled this shelf because it was empty. I don't have to go out and work for an employer. This is what I do for a living. I make YouTube videos and I split wood in the wintertime. I feed the chickens. It's just kind of what we do. So we got this winter storm coming, and I do see that a lot of people are not prepared. And I was watching the prepping channels today, and they're saying the same old thing. Propane, buddy heaters. I've used a buddy heater a lot. I like them a lot. But if you think that is going to be a backup heat source, please rethink what you're doing. A buddy heater, the one we have, heats up about 200 square feet. Now you can get bigger ones, but then when you have a thermostat, so you're having to get up, turn it on, turn it off. Now, nice thing is you can run it off a 20-pound propane tank. It would not heat this house up in those kind of temperatures. I wouldn't trust it. Don't rely on it. Now, there is another thing, and buddy heaters do make these things, and they're called blue flame heaters. They do have a thermostat. They're a little bit more expensive. Hang them on the wall. Some of them have blowers on it. Those are nice. My mom has those type of heaters. My dad used to have those kind of heaters. He may have them still yet, I don't know. You can hook a 20-pound tank up to that, or a 30-pound tank, 100-pound tank, whatever you want. However, you're still relying on people. And I realize that not everybody wants to be off-grid. But if you're a prepper, you would think that you would want to separate yourself from propane as much as possible. I know we run propane around here, and that's one of the criticisms I get from the prepper. Oh, what are he complaining about? He's got propane. But I don't need the propane. I can heat water on top of this. We can cook on top of this also. We can cook outside on the little wood stove thing that Carolyn has made. So our backup plan is easily converted from propane to wood in the event of an emergency. But if your backup plan is from electric to propane, then you don't have a backup plan, because eventually you're going to run out of propane. It's like these preppers who keep telling us to stockpile food. If you're stockpiling food, you're going to run out of food. Then what? All I'm trying to do is make it a year. And then what? And it's not like you're going to all of a sudden come up with a genius idea after the situation has occurred. Although it's too late for this storm, and the notification has already been sent out. The weathermen are saying it's coming, and I'm highly recommending get a wood stove. Start getting your firewood. Start letting it dry out for a couple years. That way when these things happen, you have nothing to worry about. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about that water tank. So if I can inspire you, not be a prepper and be prepared, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.